Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of Across the South with me, your host, Aubrey Kelly. I've got a great episode coming for you today. Thank you, first and foremost, for everyone who has supported the podcast so far on Spotify, YouTube, and also now on Apple Podcasts. So you can find us all over the platforms. Whether you want to listen, watch, or both, because I do have it set up on Spotify for both audio and video. So you can do video on Spotify as well. Um, I noticed in the first recording there was a lot of static for whatever reason. It sounded like I had white noise on in the background, even though there's nothing on in this room that I'm in whatsoever. So I've got that fixed. Um, but I do have a great episode for you today. We're going to cover a little bit of week 4 from this past weekend, and we're also looking towards the future of the SEC. Man, I don't know about y'all, but that intro gets me fired up so much. I'm so happy with the way that it turned out after editing it, going through, finding all those different clips around the SEC, whether football, baseball, basketball, all the College World Series championships, the flag plant from Baker. Yes, that was before they were part of the SEC, but still a big moment in Oklahoma history. But we're going to run through real quick with the week 4 summary. Tennessee goes on and beats UAB 24-56. Auburn loses to Oklahoma. It was a very close game. 17-24 was the final score, with Oklahoma moving to 4-0. Ole Miss over Tulane 10-45. Mississippi State continues going on strong at 4-0, beating NIU 10-38. South Carolina fell to Missouri and late last night, 20-29. Missouri moves on with their first conference win and is 4-0. LSU gets the offense right while facing SLU. They win 10-56. And then Vandy hangs 70 on Georgia State, which is crazy. They put in their second string. Vanderbilt, it's a new Vanderbilt this year for 2025. And then Texas shut out Sam Houston 0-55. But here's one thing that I want to talk about coming off of week 4, and it's going to bleed in between two schools. We're talking about Arkansas and we're talking about Florida. So first off, we're going to start with Arkansas. Again, a one-score game lost. So they now move to, or under Sam Pittman, 7-19 for one-score games. But here's what's crazy. So they are the only FBS school in the country to score 28 plus points in the first half for the first 4 games of the season. 28 points every game so far in the first half alone. But they have 2 losses. Now, what's crazy is last week against Ole Miss, they're driving down. They need a touchdown to win, fumble, right? Ole Miss recovers, game over. This week, they need a field goal to win, 32-31. They need a field goal to win. Final few back to the two-minute warning. They don't waste the timeouts. They get down to the 2-minute warning. Another fumble. Recovered by Memphis. You would say ball game at that point, but there was enough time still on the clock. They had the chance for a 3-and-out. It's 3rd and 8. Redshirt freshman comes in for Memphis at quarterback because the starting quarterback lost his helmet, has to go and sit out a play. You think this is great for Arkansas. Redshirt freshman runs the ball QB sneak style, goes through the gap, carries a 300-pound power 4, power 5 player, defensive lineman, 300-plus pounds, carries him 15 yards for the first down, and that's the game. So 2 of the previous losses, Arkansas's only 2 losses are one-score games, and it went from game-winning drive to a fumble, opposing team gets the ball, and game over. And, you know, you look at it from an Arkansas fan's point of view, you're thinking we would be 4-0 right now. We would be a 4-0 undefeated team, and Arkansas should be, but because of these miscues, it something has to change. You can't be the only school to put 28 points up in the first half and you're losing one score games. It shouldn't come to that. I mean, they've had 4 3-and-outs in their first 3 games total. Altogether, the first 3 games, only a total of 4 3-and-outs. This game against Memphis, they had 4 alone, maybe more. I didn't keep track. Uh, but I mean, you have to have this mentality in the SEC that you're going to be the best. You have to go for 4 hours. You've got to be able to keep up this pace, this momentum, this drive, this grit in order to get the job done. And right now, Arkansas is unable to do that. And you look at the comments made by Hunter Yurachek on Monday at the Little Rock Touchdown Club, and I'll play the clip so that way you can hear his words, and then we'll kind of break it down as to why Arkansas is struggling.
Like, I know the focus is on football, and we all want to win in football, but at the same time, those schools have been outspending us for the last decade, and we've still won more SEC championships among more sports than any school in the SEC. And so I think we're doing just fine at the University of Arkansas, and I think we're set up to win a national championship in men's basketball moving forward. We know we're set up to win a national championship in baseball moving forward, and I think we're set up in several other sports to win a national championship. Football, where we are right now, we're not set up to win a national championship. I'll just be brutally honest with that. But I think we're set up to compete really well in the Southeastern Conference, especially now with the new revenue sharing model.
Okay, so you heard there, he's being honest. He's saying, I'm going to be brutally honest here. For football, we're not in a state to compete. Like, we were in a state to compete in the SEC, but not for a national championship. We're good in baseball. We're good in basketball. So why not football? You went and took a lifetime contract from a Hall of Fame coach in basketball with Coach Calipari coming from Kentucky. You were able to go get him. So what's stopping you from getting players or a high-end football coach? Where's the money? I know there's the connection with Tyson Foods, and you've got Walmart. So the money's there. Why is football not that big of a priority? Is it because the other two were so close? None of it makes sense. And you talked about himself. He brought up the new rev share model. And so here I'm on collegesportscommission.org, and I'll read and break down what that is. So the House versus NCAA settlement introduces a revenue sharing model that allows participating institutions across the country to directly pay student athletes beginning July 1st, 2025. So this year, this began. Schools can distribute each year up to 22% of the average revenue among schools in the ACC, Big 10, Big 12, Pac-12, and SEC from media rights, ticket sales, and sponsorships, known as the revenue sharing cap. So the cap for the 2025-2026 academic year is $20.5 million per school. And it says, with a few potential exceptions, the cap will then increase 4% the following 2 years and will be re-evaluated every 3 years over the duration of the 10-year settlement period. Student athletes can receive this direct compensation in addition to their athletic scholarships, third-party NIL earnings, and other previously permitted educational benefits. The College Sports Commission and LBI Software, a leading sports management software provider, has developed a comprehensive cap management system known as the College Athlete Payment System, or CAPS. Participating institutions are required to use CAPS to report their revenue sharing payments to student athletes. So these have to be reported. Yes, you have your scholarships. You can say full ride, or here's 2 years, here's a year for you to come play with this. And then you have your third-party NILs, like Nike or whatever, like name, image, likeness. Players can be paid. A lot of that had to do with the new college football game coming out. That way players could have names, where back in 2014 and everything else, every other NCAA football game, it was just number one with a 5-yard run. gives the players a name now, and they're able to benefit from that, which is nice. It's good, but at the same time, they don't have things all figured out. There's no, it's not like the NFL where you have a salary cap, and this is probably like they're fixed to it. Of okay, you have this much money that you can spend towards players, to be able to recruit them or whatever it may be. So I mean, you the the article continues pretty much just summing everything up. The platform will enable schools to allocate cap funds to student athletes, monitor payments and track progress against the cap, manage compliance with revenue sharing rules, and track roster allocations. And basically, all that is it allows the schools to be looked over to make sure no one's breaking the rules, to say, okay, you have this 20.5, as long as you're not going out and getting money from someone else, from another corporation or what, like whatever it may be, then you're working within the rules, you're doing everything fine. But there hasn't, because this is so new, there's nothing fishy going on about schools going behind the back of the rev share that's having them get away with paying players more, or giving themselves a benefit to recruit more players, because it's supposed to make everyone an even playing field. You get 20.5 million, you get 20.5 million, you Rutgers get 20.5 million. I'm just throwing a school out there, but it gives everyone an even playing field to say, okay, you all have the same amount of money. Now go do what you will with it, but you only have 20.5 million. Spend it wisely. Do what you can. We'll see you the the football season, or athletic season, whatever it may be, wherever that money went. And it's nice to know that he's thinking it's going to be easier to recruit players and to be able to compete in the SEC, but it's not working. It's not the players. You have great players. You've got the number one quarterback, the number one offensive line, and yet you are losing. You're not, if you can't compete outside the SEC, what's going to make you compete within the SEC? You've lost your first in-conference game. You've now lost to an American associated college in Memphis. The rest of your schedule is not any easier. You've still got the SEC schedule. You end your season with Texas. You have Notre Dame next week. What's going to make you compete? You need a coach. Sam Pittman's not the coach for Arkansas. Not anymore. I mean, we can have a comparison here between Sam Pittman and Billy Napier. Neither of these coaches are going to be at their respective schools much longer, in my opinion. So let's get off of Sam Pittman for a second. Let's look at Billy Napier in their week against Miami. Florida lost to Miami 26-7, and you might be thinking, wow, they held the number 4 team in the nation to only 26 points. I give credit to Florida's defense. They've got a good defense. They're the opposite of Arkansas. Their defense is good. Arkansas's offense is good. If you put the two together, you'd probably have a very competitive team in the SEC. But neither one has what they need. Looking at the first half, Florida only put up 32 total yards of offense. 32 total yards of offense. I'll say it again. 32 total yards of offense. So what needs to change? Billy Napier had a great couple years whenever he was in Louisiana. That's why he was brought to Florida. He put Louisiana into the top 25 poll. So you're thinking, wow, if he can make this school have a good turnaround, let's get rid of Dan Mullins, because he hasn't been doing all that great. We'll buy him out. It's going to kill us. We'll buy him out. Let's get Billy Napier. So let's break down that contract. Florida signed a 7-year deal worth $51.8 million with an average annual value of $7.4 million. If they parted ways with Billy Napier right now. Florida would owe him 21.7 million if they chose to fire him after this last game. The buyout total is dictated by his contract, stating that Napier receives 85% of his annual compensation. This contract year ends January 31st, 2026, so this upcoming end of January, and that amount is 7.4 million, and the number increases each year by 100,000. The first installment of Napier's buyout is contracted to be worth 50% of what he is due, and it must be paid within 30 days of being fired. The rest is worth 12.5%, and it will be due July 15th each year until paid off. So you're thinking, wow, they spent a pretty penny. Well, little flashback to whenever Napier was hired in 2022. He said, what was it? Scared money. Big money doesn't mean scared money. I'd have to look it up. But, I mean, you're spending all this money and you're wanting a coach to do well. That's why you went and got him. That's why you spent the big bills. When you don't see that type of progress, when you're not seeing the winning years, something has to change. Let's look at his record. Overall record at Florida, Billy Napier is 20-22. His 22 season, he was 6-7, 3-5 in the SEC. 2023, he was 5-7, 3-5 in the SEC. 2024, he went 8-5, went 4-4 in the SEC. That was DJ Lagway's first start. Everything looked good. Hey, I've got me a quarterback. I'm chilling. We're going to be even better next year. So far, 2025, he is 1-3, 0-1 in the SEC through 4 games. At some point, Florida fans are used to winning. They have a culture of winning. They have always had great quarterbacks and been a playoff caliber team. Since Billy Napier came to the scene, that hasn't happened. They're frustrated. They're tired of losing. They don't want this losing record throughout the years. They want to be positive. Overall positive in their record, but also positive in conference. Because that conference brain fart conference record carries over a lot of weight, especially in a conference as strong as the SEC. If you're beating all of these high-end opponents, and if every team in the SEC is ranked because they've played out a conference and won. I mean, I don't even know how many are still undefeated until this week, where they played an in-conference opponent, and just one of them had to lose. Oklahoma and Auburn, for example, South Carolina, Missouri. Both teams were undefeated through the first 3 weeks, but now since they have to play each other, one of them is going to take a loss. So having that ability to keep winning, especially your out-of-conference games, but also in conference. I mean, yeah, you could have 1 or 2 losses in conference, but if you have no out-of-conference losses and they're all in conference, you have a chance for playoffs, especially if you're beating those big-name teams like Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, whoever it may be. So Napier's seat is hot because you put on a good defensive stand against Miami, but you only put 7 points on the board. You've got to be able to do something a little bit better. You can keep it close. If you keep it close against Miami, you're thinking, hey, we're getting better. We're improving. 32 yards in the first half, that's not improvement. At that point, you just say Miami had a bad game. Miami wasn't clicking offensively. Their defense was there, but there were holes. Miami needs to improve. You're not thinking Florida got better. But let's go back to Arkansas now, looking at Coach Sam Pittman, because something needs to change in the culture of Arkansas. I said in the first episode, hey, I get to sit back, let my offensive coordinator do what he needs to do, let my defensive coordinator do what he needs to do, and I just kind of take all the credit. So, breaking down Pittman's record overall since being hired on in 2020, he is 29-26. Just 3 games more won. He's won 3 more games than he's lost, but it's still 500. It's going to be really important why I bring up the number 500. So in 2020, COVID year, went 3-7, 3-7 in the SEC. All it was for 2020, that COVID year, was you played your conference. You didn't do anything out of conference because of all the protocols. Going into 2021, Sam Pittman goes 9-4, 4-4 in the SEC, finishes ranked number 21 in the AP poll. That's good. You're thinking, okay, if we did just in conference last year, we didn't get a lot of games, not a lot of not a lot of experience, but now we're ranked. So you're thinking that next year it's going to be even better. 2022, 7-6, 3-5 in the SEC. 2023, 4-8, 1-7 in the SEC. It's getting worse. 2024, 7-6, 3-5 in the SEC. A lot of 3-5s. A lot of 3-5s in the SEC. So far in 2025, he's 2-2, 0-1 in the SEC through 4 games. Nothing's going good under Sam Pittman. He wanted to be a head coach. He'd never gotten the chance to. He'd learned under great coaches. He did the O-line at Georgia under Kirby Smart whenever they went and won national champions. They had that big O-line that was so great. Arkansas's O-line has struggled through the years under Sam Pittman until this year. Except this last game, they allowed quite a few sacks, even though I don't believe Taylor Green had been sacked before until this game. But let's break down Pittman's contract. So back in 2022, Pittman got a contract extension and it increased his salary and extended employment through 2027. So he got a 5-year extension. If Pittman this is where it gets weird. This is where this contract is absolutely absurd and insane. It makes no sense, and you're questioning the comment made by Hunter Yurachek that I played earlier of like, okay, if you say there's no money and that we can't compete, but you wrote a contract laid out in this sort of way. So here we go. If Sam Pittman finishes the season 500 or better when taking total wins and losses since 2021, Arkansas would owe nearly $9.8 million if they decided to move on. So that 29-26 record. If he finishes this season at 500 or better, so he either finishes 29-29, there's more games. So he either finishes with a winning record or he goes like 30-30. I know that's still not the whole season, but you understand what I'm saying. If his record is even wins and losses, or he has a winning record, the payout, if they chose to part ways, is $9.8 million. So to stay on the high end of the buyout, if Pittman wants to get paid, get his money, if they do end up parting ways, he would need to win 5 games. So far, he's won 2. He's got Notre Dame, and then he's got the rest of the SEC to get through. So far, their offense looks like they can compete. The defense doesn't look like it's improving or getting any better. So those 3 wins, you're not really sure if you're going to see them this year. Flashback to Chad Morris where there wasn't a game 1 kind of deal. You watch the games in hopes that your team's going to win. I think Arkansas fans are going to be watching games just to see if they have to pay as much as they do to get Pittman out of there. So if he doesn't win 5 games, if he doesn't meet the requirements to meet that high-end buyout of a 500 record or better, so if only 4 games are won, only 4, the buyout drops to nearly $6.9 million. So he would lose approximately $3 million if he doesn't meet the requirements. Here's my problem with this type of contract. You're asking a coach, you're paying him quite a bit of money, and all you're asking is for him to do even. If you can win as many games as you lose, we'll pay you. You're asking for mediocrity. You're asking for a lackadaisical coach to go in there and say, I'm going to do the bare minimum. You're not looking to win. You wonder why you're not competitive in football, why you can't go and win a national championship when you have the offense that you do, when you're able to recruit the way that you are. It's because your coach and because of the contract you wrote. You have this mediocre contract, like who's you wouldn't get a raise at a law firm if you won as many cases as you lost. Who's going to hire you? They want a lawyer to win so that they can get paid or so that their sentence can be reduced, whatever it may be. You're not going to be you're not going to have a sales associate go and maintain 50% because then you're losing money just as much as you're making it. You're not building a profit. If I hand you $1 and you give me $1 back, I still have $1. You have to give some sort of incentive. You can't say, hey, 500 win loss record, I'll give you $10 million. Okay, I'm going to do just that. I'm going to do all I can to just meet the bare minimum. And it makes you question how much more can Arkansas fans deal with this, and how much, like, what is it that Sam Pittman can do to keep his job so far? Yes, they've gone to 3 consecutive bowl games and won those bowl games, but is a bowl game enough? If you go to the what used to be the GoDaddy Bowl, if you go to the Pop Tart Bowl, is that enough? No, you want a Big Year Six Bowl. It pays more. You get more eyes on your school. You want to have recruits. That's where you get your recruits. It's not just NIL. It's not just funding. You have to be able to show them, hey, this is a culture. This is a winning culture. If you come here, you're going to be great. You're going to have some wins and losses. We're going to get your name out there. You're going to be on the big screen, and you're going to have scouts looking at you to move on to the next level in the NFL. It's as simple as that. But for Arkansas to have seen that contract sign and to hear the comments made by Hunter Yurachek this past Monday, they're up in arms. They're ready for something new. They're ready for something different. And it seems like, last year before everything happened with the greatness that was DJ Lagway for Billy Napier, that's how Florida fans have been. Move on. We want to win. None of this mediocrity, none of these losses, none of these blowouts. Like, we want to compete. We know we can compete. We've done it before time and time again. But what's changed? Urban Meyer left Florida, went to Ohio State, and he had great success at Ohio State. They replaced him with Dan Mullins. Dan Mullins has some decent success at Florida. Then he started falling off. So what do? We go and get Billy Napier. He hasn't really shown much. We saw great success at his old school. He should be able to parallel that here in Florida. Hasn't happened. So what do? Okay, you signed a contract, a 7-year contract for $58 million without knowing what your coach was capable of. You need a trial run. Hey, here's $15 million, 3 years. I know that's probably cheap for a coach in the SEC, but something to where you're not digging deep into your pockets to get someone, and then you have to pay him out. Texas A&M and Jimbo Fisher, for example, he got paid. They're still paying him. Now, granted, they went and got Tim Elko, who's doing a good job. They went and got a good coach who knows how to coach. And under those first few years, then you can give them the extension. If you wanted 7 years, sign him for 4 for half the price that you did of 58. There's no reason to sign him on for 51.8 million for a 7-year contract. That averages out to 7.4 million a year. So if you're doing 7.4 million a year, go 3 years. 21 million for 3 years. He's got time to get there, prep his team. He can do his first season, see how that goes. Second season, you see if there's improvement. Third season, look for a bowl game. If you make a bowl game the second season, boom, there's your improvement. If you didn't, and you make a bowl game your third season, okay, there's an improvement. We'll give you an extension. Don't just, hey, your record was good this past time. We haven't seen you coach here or in this conference, but we saw what you did over there. So we're going to give you as much money as you want to come here and do what you did there. But if he's incapable of doing that, you're already in the red. There's no, I mean, both programs didn't make a good decision here. And you can't blame them because you thought they did. Whenever Arkansas was looking for a coach after Brett Bielema and Chad Morris, a lot of names were getting thrown out there of who's going to be the next coach. And then you hear Sam Pittman hired on. Like, who the heck is that? Who's Sam Pittman? Oh, he was an offensive line coach in Georgia. Well, he worked for Georgia, and boy, they have a national championship team year in and year out. That wasn't under Pittman. He controlled the offensive line. Kirby Smart's the one that coached them to be the way that they needed to be in order to perform for a national championship, to compete and win over and over and over again, to beat Alabama, to take down Nick Saban and that Alabama dynasty. That was Kirby Smart. I mean, Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, he was under Saban. He's done great with Ole Miss. He's got a great mind. He knows how to make an offense work. He knows how to control his entire team and get everyone on the same page. But when your head coach is very lackadaisical and they just kind of sit back and it's, hey, all right, offense, get out there. Bobby, you got me? Okay, run it. What part of that gets your team fired up to go and compete in the SEC or to thrive and strive to go after a bowl game or a New Year's Six bowl or compete in the SEC and compete in the college football playoffs to try and go win a national championship? Don't just go and look at baseball and basketball. Arkansas has gone to the College World Series a ton of times, so many times, but they still fall in the ninth inning. Why? Pressure, not being there. It's not the coach. I mean, you could say it's the coach, but there's been times where, a pitching change happens that doesn't need to. But it's all about it's discipline. That's all you need. You need a coach that's gonna get that team going. You look at your basketball team. Coach Calipari had a consistent starting five with 2 substitutions. 7 players on a college basketball team, and you made a run into the Sweet 16. Could have made it to the Elite 8, but a double-digit comeback to Texas Tech put you out. Granted, you had injuries, and you were on a 6-man rotation. But he made it work because he was a coach who knew how to put the right players in at the right position and to get them fired up to go compete. It was the coach. And that's what both of these schools need as a coach. And lucky for them, there's names being thrown around of who's going. John Gruden's been out saying, I want to coach in the SEC. You take that with a grain of salt, if you will. He's a great coach, but he's also got some baggage with him. But, I mean, Dabo Swinney and Clemson. He had a press conference. He came out, if they're tired of winning, then I'll go on my way, but I'm not going to stop coaching. Clemson just lost to Syracuse. I think they're 1-3. They could be looking to get rid of Dabo Swinney. Yeah, that's a big buyout. But if they're already to the consistency of, hey, we're tired of losing. We're tired of not competing. We were consistently going to the national championship while you were a coach. What's going on here? What is this? What is this kind of performance? 1-3? You got beat by Syracuse? What's going on, coach? Dabo Swinney goes. I mean, he said himself he's not going to stop coaching. So then where does he fall in? Who's going to put up the money? Right now, Florida's got the money. He could do it. They could do it. Bring Dabo Swinney in. He's competed against the SEC multiple times with college football playoffs. So he knows the type of competition he has to go against and what he has to raise his standards to. Now, if the ACC not having Dabo Sweeney would be new, but there is something new that did come to the ACC, and I want to talk about it. Forget all the money. Don't forget about the money, but it's a lot of numbers, and I threw a lot of numbers at you. But this one's really cool, and it's something that the ACC incorporated this year. So the ACC has paired up with ESPN, and it's live conversations between the on-field ref, the instant replay official, and the conference's game day operations center. And this is what makes it really cool. And I think that multiple leagues would benefit from this. And I think we really need it to come to the SEC because we all know that SEC officials are not the best. They have the worst timed flags for game deciding plays. So this will help with like holding them accountable. You look at the MLB, Major League Baseball, they have the automatic strike zone or the robotic strike zone, digital strike zone, whatever you want to call it. It holds the ump accountable because now the players can say, "Hey, you were wrong. I'm gonna challenge this strike call." It pulls up on the big board. It says, "Hey, the pitch was right here, top right corner, within the strike zone. My call was correct. Let's continue playing ball." This is what makes it really cool because you get that look. It's not a coach's challenge, but it's only under official review. So say it's first and goal, second and goal, third and goal from the 1 yard line. They do a QB sneak, they hand the ball off. It's a big hodgepodge of people and bodies, just a big culmination right there at the line, and you're trying to figure out if the ball broke the plane. This is where that comes in. The officials go under review to see if it's a touchdown. So what ACC network or what ACC and ESPN have done is they allow the audience to listen into it. You get to see the camera from the game day operations center. You see and hear because the replay official is mic'd up, and you hear that conversation back and forth. You see on the screen the replay that he's looking at, and then you hear the conversation back and forth. If I can find a clip, I've found some, but I think that the ESPN college football account has it watermarked or copywritten because when I downloaded one, it went from clear English where I could understand it to Spanish and I think a little bit of Chinese to where it couldn't be used. So if I find a clip, I'll insert it. But if I can't, I'm going to do my best to explain everything that goes into it. So right now, this feature is only available on select ACC games broadcasted on ESPN, ESPN2, and the ACC network. You can hear the conversations that are broadcast live during the game when a play is being officially reviewed, like I explained earlier. The audience gets real-time discussion between the officials, which often includes their assessment of the play, what they are seeing on different video angles. So the video that I saw, and if I can get, you can hear the replay official, "Hey, go back to this camera angle. I want to see it from this view." Okay, what are you guys seeing over there at the game day operations center? Like, what does it look like to you? Okay, I see that too. We're in agreement. Okay, so if we're in agreement there, the ball broke the plane. Yep, I see that. Knee's not down. Cool. Same here. Rule it a touchdown. And to give that experience to fans to understand what it is that they're talking about, it's not just the commentators in the booth. "Oh, well, it kind of looks like it here, that I think that is." You hear them make the call. The commentators don't make the call. The official makes the call, and those are part of the game day operations. That's who makes the call. So given that transparency to your audience to where you're like, "Oh, okay, that's what they're looking at. That's how they see it. This is where the conversation happens that determines the ruling of if it's a touchdown or an incomplete pass, an interception. Was the toe in? Was it out of bounds? Did the ball break the plane before he fumbled?" You hear all of it. And to bring that from the ACC to the SEC to the Big 12, Pac-10, NFL, whatever it may be, that's something that makes the fan experience so much better. It makes it clear, concise. It holds the officials accountable because they're heard, they're mic'd up. You understand the conversation. There's no, hey, $20, it's a touchdown. You you'd hear it. Well, Bill Belichick gave me $20, $100. He let me take a picture with his girlfriend. I think it's a touchdown. No, it gives you the clear, concise, open communication between the officials, their bosses, or the game day operations, and the audience. It's great. It's so much better for the game to be able to do that. I mean, you kind of look at some of these games from week 4, if you did watch. Uh, Arkansas, Memphis. Arkansas gets a defensive pass interference, but when you watch it back on the replay, they showed it and broadcasted it. The wide receiver broke. Uh, he fully extended his elbows, which causes an offensive pass interference. What happened? Defensive pass interference, touchdown, Memphis. Defensive holding on a Taylor Green touchdown run, which would have put them up to be able to win, even if Memphis had their 18-point comeback. It would have put them up enough to secure the game. But what happened? There was a defender that wrapped up around an offensive receiver, and you can find these plays. I'll insert them if I can find them myself. That way you can also view this as I'm talking about it. But the defender wraps up around the wide receiver. The wide receiver lets go. He doesn't do anything. He lets the defender go after Taylor Green. Flag. Offensive holding. Touchdown gets called back. Ultimately results in Arkansas losing the game. Look at the Auburn-Oklahoma game. There was a trick play that was ran by Oklahoma. Isaiah Satania went towards the sideline, but he never left the sideline. Left unmarked, was wide open, scored a touchdown. Now, there's been a statement issued from the SEC already about this play. I'll read it here for you. This is from SEC officiating. It says, in Saturday's Auburn at Oklahoma football game with 10:50 remaining in the second quarter, a pass was thrown to Oklahoma number 5, Satania, resulting in a touchdown. Oklahoma number 5 participated in the previous play, which was a first down play from the 22-yard line. So he was a part of the play that was ran previously that resulted in a first down. After the first down play was complete, Oklahoma number 5, Satania, continued toward his team's sideline, but stopped just before reaching the Oklahoma sideline. So he's kind of jogging off like I'm subbing out, but he doesn't go all the way to the sideline. NCAA football rule 9-2, Article 2 is labeled unfair tactics with paragraph 8 stating, so this is the official rule, what is written, no simulated replacements or substitutions may be used to confuse opponents. No tactic associated with substitutes or the substitution process may be used to confuse opponents. This includes any hideout tactic with or without a substitution. So they're basically saying, hey, you can't do a camouflage play. You can't run off and, oh no, I'm hurt, coach, let me get out, or whatever. I'm subbing. Stop, turn, catch a pass, run in for a touchdown. It's considered unfair. You have to be able to defend players. You cannot do this sort of thing. Now, I'm going to continue here as what should have happened. The officiating crew did not properly interpret the action as a hideout tactic. If properly officiated, the second down play should have resulted in a team unsportsmanlike conduct penalty of 15 yards assessed from the previous spot. So it would have been, they said it was a second down play. So then it would have gone to, if they got the first down, they went through the first down play, goes to second down, results in an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty of 15 yards. So that backs them up 15 yards, still second down, would back them up 15 yards. So it would be 2nd and 20 if they got a 5-yard play off the first down. but instead it resulted in a touchdown because he was unmarked of the unfair tactic. Now, the SEC has come out saying that appropriate accountability will be applied without additional comment. So they're going to do something. What it may be, I don't know. But what happens with this type of stuff with the officiating when you miss calls like that, when it ultimately, because Auburn lost by 7, it was 24-17. They lost by a touchdown. So imagine if that touchdown doesn't happen. Now, granted, it happened in the second quarter, but still, when you see how the rest of the game plays out, you're thinking, well, what if? What if they went 15 yards back? Would Auburn have won that game? It it kind of gives an unfair assessment towards the teams that the league is looking at, the conference is looking at, or that the AP poll, everything of that sort. It's like, yeah, they lost. It was a close loss, but I mean, this flag kind of resulted in their loss. So how good is Oklahoma? How good is Auburn? Is Auburn really like not that competitive in the SEC? No, they're pretty competitive. Just this flag kind of screwed them over. There's got to be this kind of communication, and I think that whenever there's a statement post game like this, it sucks because then you can't go back and replay the game. You can't go, okay, we're going to put 10 minutes back on the clock, or 9 minutes, 50 seconds back on the clock in the second quarter. Uh, you're going to start 2nd and 20, resume play. They're not going to do that. There's no reason to do that. There's no sense in doing that. It wouldn't happen. None of it makes sense. But we need the type of open line communication between refs, officials, and the college game day operations of whatever conference. The SEC is in Birmingham, so you'd have a direct line to Birmingham. They do it all the time with the SEC baseball tournament. The reviews of did the pitch hit the batter? Well, we're going to send it to Birmingham. They'll look at it, and then they'll relay it back to the umpire on the field. Umpire on the field doesn't look at anything. He just has an earpiece in his ear. He gets told, yes, it hit him. No, it didn't. Continue the game. But if you're able, as an audience member, because, I mean, you can sit there and you're watching the replay, and you're thinking, yep, that hit him. That definitely hit him. And then it comes back, the ball didn't hit him. What the crap? What are you talking about? You want to be able to see, you want to hear the conversations that they're having, so you can see what they see or what it is that they're looking at. Because whenever you watch a movie and someone else watches the same movie, you might end up with 2 different perspectives about that movie. That's probably a horrible analogy and a way of explaining it, but I'm sure somewhere in there I'm making sense. I don't know myself. But there's got to be something to have the officials be held accountable to where a penalty doesn't determine the outcome of the game. Because that's not what you want. You want the players' efforts to determine who wins and who loses. That doesn't mean there won't be penalties. Just make the right penalties. Arkansas State and Iowa State. I know this isn't SEC, but it connects. Arkansas State is hosting an AP top opponent for just the second time, and they're looking to win. That it's a close game. They need a touchdown to tie or take the lead. One of the two, I don't remember. This was week 3. They score twice. One gets called for a pass interference, I believe, an offensive pass interference, so it gets neglected or negated. Back up some yards. Next play, QB scramble. He's looking to pass, but he scrambles. Runs up the middle, scores a touchdown. Another flag. It's holding on the offense, on the O-line. They play back. They show the replay. They say, okay, hey, it's on number 55. So everyone's looking at number 55 now in the replay. He doesn't hold. It's not a Texas A&M versus Notre Dame where he tackles the defensive lineman. That was a hold. Wasn't that? It was a clean block. His hands are jammed up inside. I think at one point they even came loose, and he's kind of like blocking him, just leaning on him with his shoulder pads and helmet. but it directly affected the outcome of the game. Now, Iowa State did go and score a touchdown pretty quickly after that, so who's to say that it would have been an Arkansas State win? But whenever you had, like, it would have been closer. If Arkansas State had scored the touchdown, gotten the lead, maybe their defense put up a little bit of a fight, or there's no telling. It's all just a big what if. But when you have some, it's demoralizing, is what it is. Whenever you're like, okay, we're still going, we're still trying, we're gonna score, we're gonna make it happen, and you score, woohoo, touchdown, we're up, we've got this, we got to finish this out 2 minutes, and then you get called back, and it's like, no, you didn't score that, you didn't score that touchdown. Here's why. Everyone sees that it didn't happen, that was the wrong call. And I don't know if they're going to go to an NFL type of thing where you can challenge, throw a red flag. Hey, I don't like where you spotted that ball. I don't like that play. Like, something has to be done. You have to hold these refs accountable to say, hey, you missed this call, you messed this up. Either they get fined and they like pay something out of their paycheck, whatever it may be, or they get suspended to not officiate the next Saturday's game. I don't know all the rules that go into being an official, but there needs to be something, because having games be directly affected by certain penalties where, hey, Oklahoma pulled this unfair tactic and you didn't penalize them for it. We're fighting from 2 feet under now. We're having to come back because, not because of us, but because you missed something. It's not on us. It's not our defense. It's not how we played. It's because of the officials. They missed the call. They should have made the call, and this game wouldn't be where it is now. And I don't know how they're going to fix it, but something needs to be fixed. And I think what the ACC is doing is a way to make that happen. This is just their first year of doing it, but right now everyone is blowing up and exploding of like, this is the greatest thing to ever happen to college football and to reviewing plays through officials, because no one comes out angry, no one comes out mad. No, you don't have people cursing the officials and booing them and everything else. They might boo them, but whenever you have that open contact, you're like, oh, okay, I understand what it is that you're saying. This makes sense to me. Thank you for explaining your side of things. I can go on about my day knowing that you did everything that you could to make the right call, to make this game complete, fair, without any bias. And that's what everything needs. College football, you maybe even move it to basketball if looking at a foul or a goaltending, being able to hear, yeah, the ball hit glass and then was blocked off the glass. That's goaltending. No, all ball, didn't foul him. Continue play. These are the types of things that are gonna make college sports progress and grow and keep getting bigger for more viewership. It's not gonna be, hey, we're gonna go from 4 playoff teams to 12, and then we're gonna go from 12 to 18, and then 18 to 64, and we'll make it March Madness for football. That's not gonna grow your audience. It's not gonna make it more engaging. It's gonna make it boring, because then it's just like a participation trophy. Hey, everyone's in this time around. Let's just see who wins. The strength of schedule doesn't mean anything, nor does the conference at that point. But we're going to figure that out all at some point. If the ACC keeps doing this and it's going great, then we will hopefully see it move towards the SEC, other conferences, and maybe even the NFL, which would be great since they're trying to do the electronic spotting of the ball. But we're going to move on now to the final segment. It's one of my favorites, even though this is only the second episode. It's just, I think it's great. I think it's a great idea. I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. So it's time now for the scripture spotlight. Insert music. So we're looking at the Vanderbilt tight end, Eli Stowers. And this one's really cool. He's kind of like what I explained in the week 1 episode, or episode 1 of Taylor Green. He does the arm tape on the back of the arm with the Bible verse. But on one arm, I believe he typically keeps it his left arm, in all caps written down, it says Team Jesus. So that's number 1 right there. And then on his right arm, throughout each and every week, he changes his scripture. Now, I couldn't find a scripture for week 4. I looked through all different camera angles and everything else. I couldn't find it, but he did in fact have the Team Jesus on his left arm tape. But I'll go back to week 3, when Vanderbilt was facing South Carolina last week, and he had Romans 5:12 written on his arm tape on his right side. Yes, I have my Bible here, because we're going to read Romans 5:12. So here it says, when Adam sinned, sin entered the world. Adam's sin brought death, so death spread to everyone, for everyone sinned. And what I love about this Bible is it has the notes breaking it down. So let's break it down a little bit. So in my notes, it says, how can we be declared guilty for something Adam did thousands of years ago? Many feel it isn't fair for God to judge us because of Adam's sin. Yet each of us confirms our heritage with Adam by our own sins every day. We have the same sinful nature and are prone to rebel against God, and we are judged for the sins we commit. Because we are sinners, it isn't fairness we need, it is mercy. And it's really great that Eli puts that out there to say, look, you and me, yeah, I get to play football. You and me are the same. We're sinners. We are terrible, terrible people. But let us not be judged by our actions. Let us be judged by our hearts the way God intended us to be. And through God's mercy, we will be saved. And it sounds awful. It's like we're all sinners. We're all doomed to death. But the beauty in it is that we are all the same. We all sin every day, day in and day out. But through God's mercy, we're able to be saved and to have that eternal life in heaven if we believe so. And it's beautiful. It's great. If I can find his week 4, I'll put it up in like a picture post-production, something of the sort that lets me know that we found it for this past game against Georgia State. But that's going to be it for this episode of Across the South. Thank you again for listening. You can find me on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcast, Across the South with Aubrey Kelly. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe. I'm going to probably get an email set up so that way if you have any questions, concerns, any ideas, segments, if you know of a player who has a scripture and you want to highlight that player for the scripture spotlight, you can email to the show directly, and then I'll be able to read it and I can put it into a future episode. But again, thank you all for listening, covering everything from Austin to Gainesville. You'll find it all here on Across the South, and we will see you next time.